verses 5 through 6 says, "Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. And he will turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to the fathers, lest I come to smite the earth with a curse." Before Christ comes again, God sends a special message to his people, a message of Elijah, this Elijah message. What is this message really all about? Well, it doesn't take too far to see. The Bible says that it's a message that has to deal with the heart. God's last day people will focus upon the heart. He will turn the hearts of the fathers to their children, and the hearts of the children to their fathers. You know, there's a quote from the book of Christ's Object Lessons where the Lord's servant says on page 415, "The last rays of merciful light, the last message of mercy to be given to the world is a revelation of his character of love. The children of God are to manifest his glory in their own life and character. They're to reveal what the grace of God has done for them." God calls his people to reveal what his grace has done for them. But the sad reality is the majority of Christendom, the majority of the Christian world today has no idea what grace really is. What is grace? We often hear of this term grace. We hear that we're saved by grace and grace, grace, grace. But what really is grace? You know, there's a show, a movie I should say, Peter Pan, and there's a little fairy that flies around, and she sprinkles this fairy dust on children and they begin to fly. Well, the reality is the majority of the Christian world today views grace such as that. Something that God sprinkles on you and magically you're good to go. You can fly and you can walk right into heaven. But the Bible describes grace as something different. The gospel is a story of grace. And Paul says, "For I am not ashamed of the gospel, for it is the power of God unto salvation." You see, grace is simply divine power that God gives us to overcome sin in these last days. God is raising up a final generation of people, young people, in love with him who will manifest this grace. And by God's grace, he will give them divine power to overcome sin. Will you be among that final generation for Christ? I sure hope so.